Hi there. I'll make a prediction right now, right here, and that is that before long, the biggest growing job creator in the country, in the US and in Europe and around the world, will be in the energy sector. It's quite clear that, well, because the banking system is hiding the decline in the supply of fossil fuels, the lack of energy will come as a shock. And well, energy is one of our basic resources, the ones we really need to do almost anything. And there are plenty of ways in which you can create energy using labor. You can insulate homes, you can build windmills, you can build solar plants if they're concentrated solar power or not. You can make steam-powered devices, and you can make all kinds of other stuff. I think that will be a revolution that we will see in the jobs market. And right now, basically, the shrinking jobs, the unemployment increase, is due to a fact that the jobs are all just consumption jobs. They're not real jobs. They're not real work. You know, you don't really have to do anything if you work in an office, sit behind a computer and do something. On that computer, what you're actually doing is organize and optimize and maintain the selling apparatus of the big manufacturers, of the big factories. So I run or I have an IT business, for instance, and I make websites for companies that sell products that have been made in factories that they fabricated in China. And so that's not real work. Or I do logistics to get stuff to people, or maybe I run a restaurant. That's more or less manual work, or I'm a doctor. There's certainly jobs that do require human skills and involvement on the spot and then deliver the value that they deliver. But many jobs, and there's of course lots of service jobs that people consider real jobs, like being a masseuse or a nail artist or a hairstyler or a interior decorator. decorator. Anyway, those jobs will all have to go because they're tied to a consumption pattern that is unsustainable with the current supply of fossil fuels. And the replacement energy supply is not being brought into place. In some places it is, because people are not stupid. They're basically saying, well, we're the US Army, we have our bases, we need to run them, and we need our solar power, so let's build that stuff. But before long you'll have all the more low-tech solutions to the energy equation creating jobs, because if you can make a windmill, or if you can make a water turbine, or if you can make a solar panel or a concentrated solar power system, or you can insulate, or you can build heat storage, all that stuff, then you have something to do, because people need that. They need to be helped with that. You know, it's just not going to work to burn everything, and there's so much confusion. But you know, it's lying only works until people get hungry, and you know, until there's a certain level of comfort is being lost. Then people become really concrete and really direct in their assessment of what you're saying, and they don't believe in promises anymore. They just become very impatient. And at that point all these lies will break down, nobody will be able to do it anymore, and we'll see reality, which means that there is not going to come any more gas to the gas station, there's not going to come any more oil in, let's say, you know, all the stuff that is now going wrong is only going wrong because people keep playing by the rules that are set up against their favor. Keep playing by these contracts that are set up by people, by banks that do not respect them, that simply say, well, okay, if we have like 100,000 clients or 1,000 clients, we have contracts with them, they adhere to that contract. If one of them doesn't want to, we fight them with legal battles. Of course, the cost to us is relatively low, so it's basically an investment in keeping the thing operational. And if we want to change something, then we simply do it, and whoever opposes, we do the same thing, and we make a big example of it. We get completely slaughtered in court by a few lawyers that simply twist the words and whatever. You know, it's very hard to, as a layman, to understand if contracts are valid or not, or whether they leave stuff open. That's the whole thing about it. It's basically, it's a specialism. It's a complexity that protects a power structure. So, you know, you can do two things if you have a castle. You can dig a very deep moat, or you can make very thick walls, but you can also surround it by a maze that nobody knows its way in, but only you and your lawyers. It's not a good strategy, but all those type of deceptions will have to, will people start disrespecting them. And it's amazing how little aggression there is actually in society, and that's something that I think is one of the questions that I have that I'm not certain about at all. Is this about selecting the most aggressive types, or is this about selecting the most docile types in society? I think it would be about the most aggressive, because let's say the Republicans that kill to be able to do what they do, because they just change laws that kills people and they don't really care about it, or they don't care about it explicitly. They're aggressive, they're destructive, and they want to protect themselves. So they have the power and they want to maintain that power, and they will maintain that power no matter what you do, because that's the whole essence of it. That they get their way and you don't get your way. That is because you don't assert yourself, or you think you cannot assert yourself, because you're psychologically basically exhausted by all kinds of complexities and lies and distractions, and you don't know to focus on the things that are really important to you. Let's say food safety, fuel safety, maybe energy safety, of course, you know, a fair legal system, law enforcement, in order to make sure that your children don't get put into slavery or whatever kind of nonsense can go on. You're not assertive enough. You're not coming forward and checking whether things are all right, and you're not making sure that they're all right if they're not. And I guess the whole public is basically it's a spectrum. On the top you have a few people, or you have the people that are very alert and very active in controlling their own situation, and that's why they move up. And on the bottom you have people that are completely confused and don't know anything, or are not interested, or alcoholic, drug users, have weakened themselves through their behavior in such a way that they're not able to cope with the situation, and they really need some assistance, or they will die, or they will certainly not come to any better fate in their lifetimes. That spectrum, that's there, and so there's of course in the middle is a large group of let's say iPod users and Apple fanatics that think that the world's going to be all benign and friendly, and we have to hug each other and we have to be very social. Only thing that they basically form a group that can very easily be exploited and very easily be gauged on their abilities, on their interests. I'm a part of it because I'm on Facebook, a little bit against my own better sense, but I think I'll just put up some fun information. But of course that means that somebody knows exactly what I'm doing. You know, I saw an advertisement, we now can make genes that know where you are. Well, why the hell would it be interesting for genes to know where I am? That is just complete nonsense. And just to say, well, if you want to change these things, you need to be more assertive. So you have to find out what you really want to change concretely in your situation, and then focus on it and put an effort into it and do it, and not wait for anybody else to tell you whether you can change things. That's just amazing. I'm in a organization where we do stuff with renewable energy, or we try to do it, and it's constantly this attitude of well, just tell me how to do it. It's not hard, it's very easy. You just do things. Like, how can we start a cooperative? Well, you just go to the notary with a contract that defines a cooperative, and you get 3 people to sign it, and there's your cooperative. You pay some money and you're done. You know, how do I install solar panels? Well, you know, you buy the solar panels, you put them on the roof. It's like when you buy a car, you put them in the parking garage, and nobody wonders, you know, I'm going to go buy a car, what am I going to do with it? no mystery there. You drive around in it and you put it in your parking lot. That's it. And there's many things like that, where people go, they're completely confused about the most simple things, because they don't look into it, they don't assert themselves. And you know, it's gonna be, you know, and energy is one of the most important things where you should assert yourself very vehemently, because it's very easy. You only have to have the shared opinion that your wealth depends on energy, and that you therefore should have more energy supply locally, because that's where you live, and that's where you want to have that wealth and that productivity. You know, if you want to get more jobs and you want to start a factory, then you cannot start a factory where there's no power plant, or there's no windmill, or there's no solar park. You cannot do it because, you know, those machines won't work. That's not Roboeconmics. Let's say we're in an industrialized world, and Roboeconmics, where the machines do the work and the people lay back while renewable energy supplies the work energy for the machines. You know, that's not going to work without solar panel renewable power. And you know, every time somebody says it's too expensive, then you just have to think, okay, how can we make it less expensive? For instance, insulation is quite expensive. It is, you can have stone wool insulation, which is 25 euros for a big pile of it. Of course, you can also insulate with straw, as I shown with my straw bale houses. And maybe I can show a picture. I guess it's going to be really hard to mix it into this video. But you know, there's many ways to do these things, and you just have to be, I think, more creative and more active. And of course, you have to, at the same time, deny people to do those contract, promise, lie things, and that includes media. So you know, there's lots of things that you can be assertive in and reach some kind of goal. I would say that for the US and actually for Holland as well, it is almost, in Holland it's a little bit less, but for the US it's quite clear that there's no government anymore. There's an organization called government that takes in people that get to where they want to go, because they are using the votes of people that have been programmed by the media with all kinds of nonsense. And so you don't really want to have anything to do with that, because it's complete madness. The people that run the show are commercial. They are not listening to the voting public, because they are not voted in by the voting public. They're voted in by a bunch of idiots that absorbed whatever was thrown at them through the media. Quite clearly. So there's the government is commercial, the banks are commercial, the corporations are commercial, everybody is commercial. But the money they use is energy, and if you can make energy, then you can make your own democracy again. It's basically where it boils down to. I hope you find this interesting, and I really think that that's going to be the major shift. It's not only means that there's going to be plenty of jobs, but that also means that there's going to be a restoration of the ecology and a restoration of wealth in the US, and it's all going to be done by people without the help of big corporations, because they don't depend on renewables. They like to depend on fossil fuels. Thanks for listening.